Okay, so let's go over how to place a lab order with the Musea Lab API. Assuming that you skipped the product place or the product API video, I'll go over authorization with the API really quick, as well as the docs. So essentially, we've got our docs.stagingmusea.photography, which is the main documentation. We've also got a secondary set of docs posted from Postman. Postman is a tool to interact with REST APIs. It's an application you can download for free for Mac or Windows. And I'm going to be using this Postman example primarily here. We've also got our live documentation, the Swagger docs, which you can use, make live requests basically to the API if you want to test it that way. So you have to be logged in to view that. That's actually on the site itself. All right. So the main thing to know about lab orders is you're going to have to create the shipping address first. We need a shipping address that's valid in order to move a lab order from open to paid. If you want to post a lab order with all the line items and everything ready to go, you're going to have an address in our system saved so that we can know where to ship it once it's ready to go. We've got a post endpoint for addresses. Let's look at this request here. Essentially, we've got three headers. We've got the URL that we're going to be posting to, the addresses API endpoint. We have the header accept application JSON. We've got the authorization, which is a basic authorization with a base 64 encoded username and password. As I showed you in the other video, you can actually use, I'm going to pull up this user again. This is a username : password here. You're going to have, my email, mymusea.com, password 123. You're going to have your own username password, obviously, for the site. This will not work after these videos are published. This was kind of a testing thing. But you can call binary to ASCII here on that username : password and get your base 64 encoded username password, or use your library of choice. I'm going to use Ruby. And you get the same thing. So if you need to know how to base 64 encode username and password, that's a quick way to do it. You can use your programming language of choice, obviously. So that's how you get that basic, and then your username and password, base 64 encoded. Here's the body of this request. We expect a user email. Typically, our vendors want to place the order on behalf of the user, so they're going to use their own emails here. That's fine. This, you may want to associate with an email address for the user, so that you can go back and reference that through the API later, and not have a million addresses come back. We do not use this email that's on an address to contact anyone. So basically it's for your own records here. If you still want to use your own email, that's fine. It just means that you're going to have 100 or 1,000 addresses associated with your user at some point. So that's kind of up to you how you manage that. We expect to have street here, this 123 Maple Street, apartment, unit, whatever, street _2, city, state _ province, country, zip, and phone number. We do not ship outside the United States, so right now, even if you were to pass another country like Mexico or Canada or Israel through on the country field, we would not, we may accept the address, but we would not ship to that country. So until we enable international shipping, USA is going to be the only valid country there. Eventually we will open up international shipping, but for now, inside the USA only. I'm going to go ahead and actually use Postman to make this request. So once again, I've got my headers set up. I do authorization basic with that we just created. Content type application JSON, accept application JSON. And then my body, I'm going to use Josh at mymusea.com. I'm going to use 123 Maple Street, apartment C, Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm going to post this. My response here, I've got now a unique identifier for this address that just got created, as well as the information that I just passed, to the API. So that is the resulting address. And at this point, now I can go ahead and create my lab order. I'm going to show you an example lab order here, and go ahead and go through it field by field. I'm actually going to use Postman for this as well. So zoom in here. So this is going to be a lab order and line items all being created at the same time. Here you've got the order name, which is order with line items. This is going to show up in our UI, so that if you were to log into Musea Lab .com and look at your orders, you'd be able to tell what this is. You can use this either as a user-friendly, like readable name, or you can automatically generate the name. Photographer email, as we mentioned previously, most vendors are going to use their own email in this field, so let's go ahead and put that guy, Musea Lab vendor at proofingsite.com here. The external order ID, once again, is another way that you can cross-reference the orders that you're placing in your own system with Musea Lab, so that you can save it in your own database, cross-reference with Musea. Let us know. The status here, we allow the vendors to go ahead and set the status to paid. Normally, we transition that after the transaction takes place, but posting through the API, you'll be able to set an order to paid as long as we have a shipping address there. The shipping method, you're going to be able to do ground or 2-day. There will be various options available to you. That's going to be based on what you are providing to your users. If you leave this blank, we will use the best shipping option and our flat rate of $10. But if you want to provide, overnight or 2-day for a specific fee, we have that information available for you if you just let us know. The notes field is essentially notes, if you allow users to pass them through, like crop off the head or make sure that, you have this person in the shot, that kind of thing, or I'd like it mounted, with extra room, that kind of thing. If you allow users to put input in there, we accept those notes. Otherwise, you can leave that blank. The shipping address is going to be what we just created in our previous requests. I believe I've got it here, yeah. So I'm going to throw that in there. Okay. And that's going to have to be that unique identifier. Right now, we're not going to accept a shipping address object in that field. Eventually, we probably will, but for now, that's 2 separate requests. If you have a discount code provided to your users, you'll be able to pass it here. Otherwise, that'll be blank for most of your users. And now we've got a line items array object. This line items array is going to include similar information, but this is where you're going to add your print sizes, your quantities, as well as additional internal information for your system. So once again, we've got that same external order ID here, so that you've got that association, and then you've got an ID for the line item level. So you've got your top level identifier, like the parent is going to be that external order ID, and then the child is going to be the external ID. We've got a photograph URL here. This photograph URL, we are expecting to be able to download these images. So if you're providing us a link here, it should either be, number one, not password protected, or number two, encoded in a way that it's valid from that link. So on S3, they provide pre-signed URLs that allow you to take a private item that's on S3 and pass a link to that private item that's pre-authorized. Those have expirations on them that are a week, in duration. We will make sure that we pull the photo before that, but essentially we need to be able to get to the images that you're passing us. So if they're password protected or private in some way, you need to give us some sort of pre-authorization URL where we can grab that. If you have a question about that or an issue with that, just let us know, and we'll work through it together. The next field is this print size. This is going to be required. Everybody will be ordering, at least a print. So in this case, we're going to be ordering 5x7s. That's the unique identifier that we pulled from the product video. If you have questions about, how to get that, the previous video on the Musea Lab Product API will give you that information. Finishing service is going to be your mat, your mount, or your frame for that item. And then the print size is the parent of this finishing service. So you can't just say, oh, this one 5x7 mount, is returned from the luster print, therefore the same mount would work for a Hahnemühle Pearl. It doesn't work that way. Each individual item, Hahnemühle Pearl 5x7, has a different mat than a Hahnemühle photo rag 5x7. So make sure that you're pulling the finishing service for the specific item that you're associating it with. And finally, the finishing service detail is going to be for frames. It's going to be the wood stain. For mounts, it's going to be the color, black or white. Mats don't have a detail, so if you select matte, you won't have anything there. That'll be null. Line items themselves can have notes, so if people want to make a note on a specific picture, they can do that here. And then quantity, obviously, is quantity. So in this case, we've got 3 objects, 1, 2, 3. So without further ado, we're just going to post a lab order for called order with line items for this Musea Lab vendor at proofingsite.com with 3 line items created. Ooh, zoomed in too far here. Okay. As you can see, we've got that lab order created. We've now got a unique identifier for the lab order, photographer email, order name, so on and so forth. We now have the cost, the total cost, the shipping for that item, the subtotal, and total. You got a no discount because you didn't pass a discount code. We are returning the actual shipping address object there so that you can confirm that it is associated correctly. The line items here are going to have their own unique identifiers as well as the parent unique identifier. you're going to see here that the print size we ordered was a luster 4x6, and you've got the unique identifier for that luster print. You've got the price and the quantity subtotal for that. So this is essentially how you would create a lab order with 3 line items in a single call. If you wanted to build it up piece by piece, that is also in this Postman documentation here. You can see you can just pass, in this case, you can pass only the user email to get started, and then you've got the lab order unique identifier at that point. Once you've, that's a very simple way to build up a lab order, and once you've got the lab order created, you can start making patch requests and use that unique identifier that you got from the original call to add additional information. In this case, I'm going to name the order and provide the external order ID. And then once I've got that, I've got the option to begin posting line items. So let's say I've got my lab order unique identifier for the lab order, and then I'm going to make a post request to the line items endpoint on that unique identifier for the lab order. You can post a single line item or multiple line items. This is the example of multiple line items. Once again, you've got, you're ordering 2 print sizes. In this case, you are ordering finishing services and finishing details. So this is a good example if you wanted to see kind of a more robust order with finishing services included. In this case, you can post a single line item. It's not an array, it's just a line item object. So you're expected to just pass the object there underneath the header of line item, as opposed to the array underneath line items. So I'd encourage you to look through this if you have any additional questions, but I did want to give that end-to-end example for everybody to start with. If you have any questions, feel free to let us know. And thank you.